जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवारधारी। जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवारधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय नित्य सच्चिनंदन नित्य सच्चिनंदन नित्य सच्चिनंदन गौर हरि। जय नित्य सच्चिनंदन नित्य सच्चिनंदन नित्य सच्चिनंदन गौर हरि। जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद। जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद। जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव गुरुदेव गुरुदेव। जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव गुरुदेव गुरुदेव। जय जय गुरुदेव। नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल। नित्य गौर हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल। नित्य गौर हरि बोल नित्य गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। We'll start with the prayers, Mangalacharan prayers. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादि पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. Thank you very much for being present at the Bhagavatam discussion this Sunday morning at Portland. So we are reading verse 1.15.42, Canto 1, 15th chapter, verse 42. I will share the verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tritve hutva cha panjatvam tacchaikatve juhonmuni sarvamatmanya juhavi brahmanyatmanamavyaye. Tritve hutva cha panjatvam tacchaikatve juhonmuni sarvamatmanya juhavi brahmanyatmanamavyaye. Tritve hutva cha panjatvam tacchaikatve juhonmuni sarvamatmanya juhavi brahmanyatmanamavyaye. Devotees, would you like to chant?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I can give it a try.
Hare Krishna.
Tritve hutva cha panchatvam tacchaikatve ajuhonmuni sarvam atmani ajuhavid brahmani atmanam avyaye. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anyone else?
I can try, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu, please.
Tritve hutva cha panchatvam tacchaitva juhunmuni sarvamatmani ajuhavid brahmani atman avyaye. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anyone else?
Prabhu, I would like to try, Prabhu.
Yes, please.
Tritve hutva cha panchatvam chaikatva juho muni sarvam atmanya juhavid brahmanyatmanam avyayam. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. We'll read the verse by verse. Tritve, into the three qualities. Hutva, having offered. Cha, also. Panchatvam, 5 elements. Tat, that. Cha, also. Ekatve, in one nescience. Ajuhot, amalgamated. Munihi, the thoughtful. Sarvam, the sum total. Atmani, in the soul. Ajuhavit, fixed. Brahmani, unto the spirit. Atmanam, the soul. Avyaye, unto the inexhaustible. Translation. Thus annihilating the gross body of 5 elements into the 3 qualitative modes of material nature, he merged them in one nescience and then absorbed that nescience in the self, Brahman, which is inexhaustible in all circumstances. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. All that is manifested in the material world is the product of the Mahat Tattva Avyakta, and things that are visible in our material vision are nothing but combinations and permutations of such variegated material products. But the living entity is different from such material products. It is due to the living entity's forgetfulness of his eternal nature as eternal servitor of the Lord, and his false conception of being a so-called Lord of the material nature, that he is obliged to enter into the existence of false sense enjoyment. Thus, a concomitant generation of material energies is the principal cause of the mind's being materially affected. Thus, the gross body of 5 elements is produced. Maharaja Yudhishthira reversed the action and merged the 5 elements of the body in the 3 modes of material nature. The qualitative distinction of the body as being good, bad, or mediocre is extinguished, and again the qualitative manifestations become merged in the material energy, which is produced from a false sense of the pure living being. When one is thus inclined to become an associate of the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, in one of the innumerable planets of the spiritual sky, especially in Goloka Vrindavana, one has to think always that he is different from the material energy. He has nothing to do with it, and he has to realize himself as pure spirit, Brahman, qualitatively equal with the Supreme Brahman, Parameshwara. Maharaja Yudhishthira, after distributing his kingdom to Parikshit and Vajra, did not think himself emperor of the world or head of the Kuru dynasty. This sense of freedom from material relations, as well as freedom from the material engagement of the gross and subtle encirclement, makes one free to act as the servitor of the Lord, even though one is in the material world. This stage is called Jivan Mukta stage, or the liberated stage, even in the material world. That is the process of ending material existence. One must not only think that he is Brahman, but must act like Brahman. One who only thinks himself Brahman is an impersonalist, and one who acts like Brahman is the pure devotee. Translation once again. Thus annihilating the gross body of 5 elements into the 3 qualitative modes of material nature, he merged them in one nescience and then absorbed that nescience in the self, Brahman, which is inexhaustible in all circumstances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So this verse is continuation from the last verse. Just to get a context here, last verse was then he, Yudhishthira Maharaj, amalgamated all these sense organs into the mind, then the mind into life, life into breathing, his total existence into the embodiment of the 5 elements, and his body into death. Interesting, his body into death. Then as pure self, he became free from the material conception of life. So Maharaj Yudhishthira he's a pure devotee. He doesn't need to purify, he did not need to purify himself of any material contamination. However, as an instrument of Krishna, playing this role in his pastime, he is teaching us how to get ready to leave this body and go back to the spiritual world. So previous verse and in this verse, what we are seeing is he is doing a reverse path. For example, for a conditioned soul like myself, of course, the birth is kind of forced here. It's not that I desire to take birth in this world. The desire was a different thing. I desire to enjoy without Krishna. And just to satisfy that desire, that means try to enjoy without Krishna and try to become Krishna in one sense, powerful being, whatever. So I was forced or forcefully I was put into this material world in different species of life, one after another. And that process, we will have the false ego and then coming down, receive this gross body, etc. Now, Yudhishthir Maharaj is showing us how we can reverse that and remove all these coverings and then go back to our original self, which is a spirit soul, a servant of Krishna, and then serve in that capacity as a servant of Krishna, which is our constitutional position. So here actually Maharaj Yudhishthir, his body is still there, even though last verse it is mentioned the body into death. That means he is no more connected with his body from his consciousness perspective. So consciously he is completely out of his body. Even though he is having that body, he is going to leave the kingdom, and from externally people can see him as himself, Yudhishthir Maharaj. They were not able to see him as his Swarupa. But his consciousness is completely detached from his subtle body, gross body, his all the so-called material connections in this world. And then now he is completely situated at the lotus feet of Krishna. And then he is going to continue his journey towards Krishna, at least teaching us how to do that. Now in this purport, Prabhupada has given a bunch of details. It's very in-depth, some of the details. I will try to discuss in my capacity, and please forgive me if I do some mistakes or explain some things wrongly. You can please correct me. Because Prabhupada starts with this word Mahatattva, which is a very deep subject matter. It's very confusing subject matter for many people like me. But whatever I have read from Prabhupada's purports and whatever I heard from senior devotees, I will share something. So he starts with this all that is manifested in the material world is the product of the Mahatattva Avyakta. Because Maharaj Yudhishthir is now bringing things back to the totality of material energy, this Mahatattva. And then further he's going deep and then becoming situated in his self, original self, that is Brahman, spirit soul, no more contamination with material elements. So here it is mentioned that things that are visible in our material vision, what we are seeing, any person, even though that person is not the body, the person is not the mind, but what we are perceiving or seeing is the material body, temporary body, which is a combination and permutations of these variegated material products. So in that way, it is actually dead. The body which we are carrying is a dead body right from beginning to end. But we think it is not a dead body because we are inside this body. We are connected with the body, and our consciousness is, at least mundane soul like me, conditioned soul, the consciousness is more or less connected mostly with the body. So the living entity is different, 100% different from such material products. But our forgetfulness of our eternal nature as a servant of Lord is actually forcing us to think that I am this body. And then anything connected to this body is mine. This is the false conception originated from this false ego, which came from this totality of material energy, Mahatattva. So I have, I'm sure there are many verses in Bhagavatam which touches upon this Mahatattva, but I have taken a few just to get some idea. So this is verse 3.5.27. So in this verse, I'll just read the translation. So here it is mentioned that influenced by the interactions of eternal time. So eternal time is Krishna's energy or Krishna's manifestation. Kalosmi, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, time I am. So that eternal time is influencing the supreme sum total of matter, which is called Mahatattva. So Mahatattva is sum total of matter, but it has, so there are different versions of this sum total of matter. One is Pradhan. Pradhan is a subtle level of, or subtle, unmanifested, undifferentiated material energy or matter. From Pradhan, there is a touch by the Supreme Lord, Supreme Consciousness, and Mahatattva will be manifested. So this is manifested, Mahatattva. And this Mahatattva, it is mentioned that it is unalloyed goodness. The Supreme Lord sowed the seeds of universal manifestation out of his own body in this Mahatattva. So basically, this seeds of universal manifestation, all the spirit souls, everything is put into this material energy. So in the purport, it is mentioned that the impregnated material energy was manifested first as the total material ingredient. So this is total. There are no differentiation. Now everything takes its own time to fructify, because in material world everything is time dependent. Time moves the matter. Even though scientists and people think that sometimes matter moves the time, I can control the time to some extent. I used to travel from location A to location B in 10 hours. Now I have found some other mechanism by which I can travel in 3 hours or 1 hour or whatever. So I'm controlling time in some sense. People feel that, but actually it is the right opposite. Time is controlling everything. Time is facilitating many things by which we can reduce the time duration for activities, but still the controller is time, which is controlled by the Supreme Lord, of course. So everything is influenced by the time. And this Mahatattva is the total consciousness, because a portion of it is represented in everyone as the intellect. And this is interesting. The Mahatattva is directly connected with the supreme consciousness of the supreme being. So without the touch of this supreme consciousness, the totality of material ingredients cannot do anything, cannot create anything from it. So supreme has to touch. There is, life comes from life, not from matter. So still it appears as matter, this Mahatattva, but this connection with the supreme consciousness is there. At least we can understand in that simple way. The Mahatattva has a connection with supreme consciousness. Now this Mahatattva is also described as the shadow of pure consciousness, because it is matter. So if it is matter, it is not pure in that sense. But it has the touch of supreme consciousness, so it is a shadow of pure consciousness. And it is the germinating place of all creation. That means from Mahatattva, all the creation will get initiated. And there is a pure goodness here, supreme consciousness, but there is a slight addition of material mode of passion, without which there is no possibility of material creation. So there is a slight addition of material mode of passion to the pure goodness. Now in the next verse, this is 3.5.27. In 3.5.28, it is mentioned that it's little interesting that the Mahatattva is chiefly in the mode of ignorance. So here Mahatattva differentiated itself into many different forms as the reservoir of the would-be entities. That means all the living entities are going to be created with a subtle and gross bodies. So this Mahatattva is the kind of resource or reservoir. And it is in the mode of ignorance because it generates the false ego. So the false ego is originated from Mahatattva. And it is also explained that Mahatattva is a plenary expansion of the personality of Godhead with full consciousness of creative principles, because this is required for the creation, and time for fructification. So these are the technology which the Supreme Lord uses to create the material world. And there are interesting way of describing things. Prabhupada has done a wonderful job. what he writes here is Mahatattva is the medium between the pure spirit and material existence. So we are not matter, we are spirit soul, but now we have been given this body which is made up of matter. So the pure spirit to material existence transition is getting through this Mahatattva, or it is the medium between these two. It is a junction of matter and spirit where from the false ego is generated. First false ego and then everything else will come. So under the pressure of false ego, the conditioned souls, even though we are parts and parcels of Supreme Lord, but we claim to be the enjoyer of material nature. This false ego is binding us here, and that comes from Mahatattva. So that's what Prabhupada is mentioning in today's verse. And then, of course, Lord gives us several chances to take birth here, along with the knowledge to come back to his own and our own original home, spiritual world. But he does not interfere with our independence. So we have the choice. I can choose spirit or I can choose matter. So I can choose spiritual world for my next life, eternal, or I can continue to come back here. So that choice is with us, but there is an option for us. That is Lord's kindness. Now, another verse, this is 2:28. So in this verse, there is a description about what are the different layers we have to penetrate through to go back to the spiritual world. So here it is mentioned that after reaching Satyaloka, the devotee is specifically able to be incorporated fearlessly by the subtle body in an identity similar to that of the gross body. And then one after another, he gradually attains stages of existence from earthly to watery to fiery, glowing and airy until he reaches the ethereal stage. So this is talking about different layers of, now each universe has 7 layers of covering, and then after that there are further layers of covering. So it is described here in detail. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but one interesting thing is one who attains the specific planet by doing these pious activities, they can reach to some higher planets to enjoy the results of the pious activities. But higher than that is liberation, Brahman kind of existence. Or more than that is devotional service. When one does devotional service, then one can penetrate into different coverings and then go across over everything and come to the stage of supreme existence in the spiritual world. So let me just read this verse. These are the 7 layers. Every universe is covered by these 7 layers: earth, water, fire, air, sky, then the total energy and false ego. So if we have to come out of this, now Maharaj Yudhishthir, he did not have to struggle because he is already a pure devotee. He was able to do all these things real quick. By reading this, it looks like a really huge effort for us to cross over these layers and going back to spiritual world. But the reality is we have no power, we have no ability, no skill to go through all these things. Krishna will do this if we just obey his instructions. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Otherwise, we cannot even imagine going through all these things. Even in this world, we are not able to cross over some little obstacle. So what to speak of crossing over these? So we don't need to worry about how do I do this. This is Krishna's job. He is ready to do that, provided we do our part, execute devotional service and try to purify our existence, consciousness. Then these things will happen. But the sequence is earth, water, fire. These are the layers of covering. And these are not simple things, miles and miles of layers of covering. And then the total energy, the Mahatattva, and then the false ego. We have to cross over the false ego. And then simple principle is given by Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shravanam Kirtanam. Just by doing that, we can cross over this false ego. It's not so easy. Just by doing doesn't mean overnight we can do, even though technically, theoretically, yes, we can do, but our attachment to the material world is holding us here. So if we can completely purify ourselves like Maharaj Yudhishthir, he is completely detached from material world itself. All his connections, relations, including his body, subtle body, everything. Then he will be not having any connection with all these things. So now here, going back to the previous verse, I will read a few lines, not the whole thing. Here Sridhara Swami writes, Prabhupada is quoting him, that a fractional portion of the Mahatattva is called the false ego, and a portion of the ego is the vibration of sound, and a portion of sound is atmospheric air. A portion of the airy atmosphere is turned into forms, and the forms constitute the power of electricity or heat. And this heat produces the smell of the aroma of the earth, and the gross earth is produced by such aroma. And all these combined together constitute the cosmic phenomenon. So we can, the reason why I am reading is I don't have any realization of this, but at least I can understand that this is very complicated, this cosmic phenomenon. It is described that the extent of cosmic phenomenon is diametrically both ways 4 billion miles. We cannot imagine what is 4 billion miles. All we can do is, it is really huge, way out of our, whatever, logic, skill, intelligence, etc., etc. This is not the end. Then the coverings of the universe begin. And it's mentioned that each covering is 80 million miles, etc., etc. Now here is the interesting thing. The fearless devotee of the Lord penetrates each one of them and ultimately reaches the absolute atmosphere where everything is of one and the same spiritual identity. Now, in this verse, the 42nd verse today we are reading, Yudhishthir Maharaj has reached to this kind of realization even before he goes out of this body and everything. His consciousness is already in this oneness with the spiritual identity, meaning he is spirit soul and the Supreme Lord is spirit soul, that identity. Of course, he is not thinking I am God. He is not merging into that oneness and you are God, I am God. Not that kind of oneness, but the qualitative oneness. Then the devotee enters one of the Vaikuntha planets and there will be a form, spiritual form, etc. And the activities, the same activity, devotees does this devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, etc. This is the highest perfection of devotional life. Now, beyond this, there is nothing to be desired or achieved by the perfect yogi. So that is where Yudhishthir Maharaj is, even while he is in this material world. And Prabhupada often speaks that even when we are here, we can come to this stage of Brahma Bhuta stage. That is what mentioned the purport also. He reached this Brahma Bhuta stage. And before moving to the Brahma Bhuta details, one more verse. This is 10th canto, 3rd chapter, 25th verse, where Krishna has taken birth to Mother Devaki and Vasudev, and Vasudev offered some prayers, and Mother Devaki is starting to offer prayers, and second of that prayer, verse 25th, this is the verse 25. Here she is mentioning, glorifying Supreme Lord, that after millions of years, at the time of cosmic annihilation, when everything manifested and unmanifested is annihilated by the force of time, the 5 gross elements enter into the subtle conception. This is like going backwards. And the manifested categories enter into the unmanifested substance. So there is this totality of material energy, the Mahatattva, and then the unmanifested version called Pradhan, etc. And at that time, you alone remain. That means the whole universe is gone, annihilated, including Brahma and everyone. All the living entities are going back to the body of Mahavishnu, and only you remains. And you are known as Ananta Sheshanaga in this prayer. And here it is mentioned in the purport that after many millions of years, when Lord Brahma comes to the end of his life, This is just an elaboration of the prayer. The annihilation of the cosmic manifestation takes place. At that time, the five elements, the earth, water, fire, air, ether, enter into the Mahatattva. Then here it is mentioned the Mahatattva again enters by the force of time, because Mahatattva is matter, but it has it is described that the supreme, there is a soul in Mahatattva, which is supreme soul. So Mahatattva enters by force of time into the non-manifested total material energy. The total material energy enters into the energetic pradhana, and the pradhana enters into you, Supreme Lord. So you alone remain with your transcendental name, form, quality, and paraphernalia. So this is how the whole technology works. Again, I'm not at all qualified to describe this. I'm just reading and trying to understand. That is my level. But it is interesting to know that the creation is not simple, and we are nowhere in charge of creation anyway. We are simply 100% forced into this material world. At least Lord Brahma has some potency given to do the secondary creation. But we are all forced into this material world, and this is how we are coming into this material world, and going back to the spiritual world is the reverse process. Again, we don't have any power or skill to do the reverse process either. Coming down, we did not do anything, we were just forced. And going back also, we will not do anything except we will have to qualify ourselves by attracting Krishna's mercy, just by following Krishna's instruction. Now Acharyas are giving us all the instructions, and Krishna's representatives such as Yudhishthir Maharaj, they are showing us how we can do that. Again, we don't want to struggle our mind or brain with now let me try to the way what Yudhishthir Maharaj has done, shrink myself and detached from the five elements and then subtle and all those things. All we have to do is become attached to Krishna, and then naturally we will be detached from material world. And Prabhupada is helping us, giving the instruction. What we have to do is just execute a devotional service. So I will jump to the verse from Bhagavad Gita, famous verse, which describes the Brahma Bhuta stage. The Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shauchati na kankshati samasarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. So in this is the kind of stage which we will reach when we are completely aloof from the material world and transcendentally situated. So when in that stage, at once we realize as the Supreme Brahman and becomes joyful, and then no more lamentation, no more desires, because all these lamentations are about our past connection with material world, and all the desires, material desires are, or hankerings are to get some enjoyment in this material world. So we are out of that. We means one, whoever is transcendentally situated. And that person is equally disposed towards every living entity. In that state, he attains the pure devotional service, etc. This is the Brahma Bhuta stage. So Brahma Bhuta stage is becoming one with the Absolute, but that is impersonalist. They just get stuck there. But pure devotee, they want to go further and become a servant and execute pure devotional service. In a sadhaka stage, we might not do pure devotional service because of our some degree of attachment to material world. So we may be doing mixed devotional service, but at this stage we will be doing pure devotional service. Means completely engaged in devotional service without any tinge of material attachment. Now I will go back to the purport of today's verse, wherein Prabhupada mentions that he who achieves the Goloka Vrindavan, or at least the supreme consciousness, has nothing to do with the material energy, because he understands he is qualitatively equal with Supreme Brahman. And then this sense of freedom from material relations, that is what we need to achieve. right when we are in this material world. Because if we have to get out of this material world, we have to be completely free from material relations while we are in this world. Then we cannot say when I am outside this material world, I can guarantee that I have nothing to do with this material connections. So Krishna, please take me out and go take me to Goloka Vrindavan. Then I will show you that I don't have any attachment to this material stuff. That doesn't work, because we came down here because we wanted to be away from Krishna. But now we cannot argue that you take me first, then I will purify myself, because the atmosphere is fully pure there. Everyone is devotee. All the we hear this. All the words are like songs. Everyone is walking. That is like dancing and all those things in spiritual world. So that I will not have any attraction to material world. So Krishna, please take me. Then I will become pure devotee. That doesn't work. We have to prove that I have no connections here. Connection in the sense I don't have any desires to enjoy here. I am completely free from all this materialistic stuff. I am free from all the material engagement of gross and subtle encirclement, etc. Then Krishna will take us back. And Krishna is not asking us to do this magic of doing the reverse engineering. All he's asking is just follow my simple instruction to you, and Lord Chaitanya made it further simpler. Don't even you don't even try to surrender. You just chant the holy name, and then I will take care of you. Lord Chaitanya is so merciful, and Nityananda Prabhu is further merciful. We just celebrated his appearance day, so he's not even asking us to. He's not even asking us. He's begging us. He's falling at the feet of conditioned souls, begging us to chant the holy name of Krishna. Even when somebody is attacking him, he's still begging. So there is no chastisement, there is no demand, there is no strict instruction. Lord Nityananda is simply begging. That is the best we can hear from anyone. There is nothing anyone else can do more than begging. So even if we are not interested, at least if we think about why this personality is begging and requesting me to chant the holy name, there must be something serious there. So if we have slight intelligence, we will take up the chanting of the holy name. And then we can reach to the Jivan Mukta stage. Mam chayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatitaitan brahma bhuvayaya. That verse is telling us how to cross over these three modes of material nature. Avyabhicharena bhakti yogena. There is no other yoga process is required. We don't need to go to Himalaya. We don't need to stand on one leg. We don't need to be without clothes in the heavy winter or heavy summer in the middle of the fire, and or sometimes yogis do these kind of things. We don't need to do that. Simple bhakti yoga, shravanam, kirtanam, smaranam, etc. We can come to this stage. So we have further verses. I'll discuss maybe one more verse probably, and then let you share your realization and enhance the subject matter. So this is verse 1.333. In this verse, it is described that whenever a person experiences by self-realization that both the gross and subtle bodies have nothing to do with the pure self, at that time he sees himself as well as the Lord. Exactly what Yudhishthir Maharaj is, realizing this. He's seeing himself as spirit, soul, pure servant, eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. Even when he's within this gross body, so-called body, but he's able to do that. So this purport is very interesting, a very, very beautiful purport. Only a few lines I will read quickly and then stop. So the difference between self-realization and material illusion is to know that the temporary or illusory impositions of material energy in the shape of gross and subtle bodies are superficial coverings of the self. The coverings take place due to ignorance. So we know the reason is ignorance. Ignorance is simple. Ignorance is, I think I am this body, and also I think I have nothing to do with the Supreme Lord. Or sometimes I think there is no Supreme Lord existing at all. Some people think. Those are the ignorant persons think, those kind of thoughts. So these coverings take place. Covering means gross, subtle bodies will be ornamenting us if we are in ignorance. Now, such coverings are never effective in the person of the personality of Godhead, of course. Knowing this convincingly is called liberation or seeing the absolute. So this means that perfect self-realization is made possible by adoption of godly or spiritual life. So we have something to do. It's not that we have nothing to do. We have to come to this godly or spiritual life. How to? That is given by Acharyas and Krishna himself, Bhagavad Gita, and other scriptures. Now, self-realization means becoming indifferent to the needs of the gross and subtle bodies, not so easy, and becoming serious about the activities of the self. Now, this is a bhakti process, how to become indifferent. Now, all these Goswamis, they are teaching us, again, we cannot imitate, but we can follow in their footsteps within our capacity, how to become indifferent to the needs of the gross and subtle bodies. And the impetus for activities is generated from the self, but such activities become illusory due to ignorance of the real position again. So when, however, one meets the self by proper culture, which is the devotional service, at least the best culture is the devotional service, the activities of the self, the real self, begin. Until then, all the activities which we do in this material world is not the activities of the real self. It is activities of the body, probably, bodily platform. So therefore, a man who is engaged in the activities of the self, which is devotional service is called Jivan Mukta, liberated person, even in the conditional existence. So I'll stop here, and of course one more paragraph is there, but I will stop here and invite any one of you to add to this subject or correct me if I have spoken something wrongly. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Krishna, Prema Vardhana, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Sachindraji Prabhu.
Thank you for speaking on this verse. I think it's something that devotees have to sit down and contemplate and analyze carefully.
Yes.
What would be your, because I'm sure devotees are thinking about these various topics about the material creation. What would be your main point that you want devotees to take away from the verse that we read today?
Yeah, so at least my thought process when I read this verse was, as I described before, I will not be able to, by myself, I will not be able to do anything of these. All I can do is try to follow the instructions given by Srila Prabhupada and spiritual master, and stick to the devotional process. So as we hear this, it doesn't happen automatically, but it happens naturally, gradually. Krishna will take us, at least Krishna will take me when I follow the process. Krishna will take me out of this gross and subtle body. Again, I cannot expect Krishna to do everything. I have to do my part. So my focus would be to, at least at this level, focus on hearing and chanting and serving within the capacity. And of course, we need to have some goal in our life. The goal is going back to the spiritual world and eternally situated as a servant of Krishna. So my takeaway is try to do my part and then hope that Krishna will get me out of this material world. So given that my part, it also includes how do I reduce my material attachments and increase my Krishna attachment? That is very important. That cultivation is required from my part. I cannot expect Krishna to do that. I have to consciously cultivate how to reduce my material needs. Again, it's a gradual process, gradually, slowly, year by year, whatever. How do I reduce my material desires, material needs, and increase my hankering towards devotional service and hankering towards devotee association, the process, chanting, hearing, etc. So that is where my thoughts are going, and that will help me to come out of all these materialistic attachments and come to this Brahmabhuta stage and going further to become an eternal servant of Krishna. Again, it's a long journey for me, but my yeah, as I mentioned, these two things: focus on devotional service and reduce my material attachment, increase my spiritual attachment. That will be the conclusion.
That's nice. Srila Prabhupada himself says this in the purport where he says, this sense of freedom from material relations as well as freedom from material engagement
Yes,
of
yes.
root and subtle encirclement makes one free to act as a servitor of the Lord. This sense of freedom.
Yeah.
So he uses words very carefully. He says this sense of freedom. Thank you for summarizing a complex purport and bringing in the purports about creation. So open it up. You give plenty of time for devotees to ask questions. So dear devotees, please feel free to ask questions or reflections, appreciation. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prema Vardhana Prabhu. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna, Prabhu.
As Jai Sachinandan Prabhu said, a complex verse. Have a reflection and appreciation. And when I read this verse, it's like a reverse journey of material entanglement, right? The way, the process, how you explained, right? And from Panchatva to Tritve and Tritve to Ekatvam, like 5, 3, 1. So
Yeah.
the 5 cross elements, and then the 3 modes of material nature, and finally the false ego. It was wonderful, Prabhu, and thank you for taking us a deep dive on the Mahatattva. It was very well explained, and it's complex, but making us simple and referring Srimad Bhagavatam verses, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you. It was learning for me. Prabhupada's explanations somewhat helped me to come from a very low level to slightly maybe 0.1 to 0.2 level. It's a very deep topic. Mahatattva is always confusing for me. But this exercise of preparing for this session helped me to understand slightly, little bit more than my previous understanding. And I still have to go a long way to get a clarity. Krishna has to reveal that. And Guru has to, Guru must have spoken many times, but my inattention did not catch much of those. So I may need to hear again and try to understand. Thank you for your reflection.
If I need to ask one question, so for Maharaj Yudhishthira, obviously he's an elevated soul. For him, the reverse journey is easy. But for us, obviously, as a conditioned soul, as you mentioned, it's hard and difficult, right? It's not that easy.
Yeah.
But living
Right.
in this material world, in this modern world today, how can we get inspired from that and practice that journey or
Yeah, it's a very, very good question. So as I mentioned before, my thought was all I can do is follow someone who is trustworthy and who is pure, authorized, Srila Prabhupada, and then his followers, and do what they are asking us to do. The spiritual master knows what a disciple can do at what level. So we are not being asked to do as Yudhishthir Maharaj has done. or other Bhishma Dev has done, how he left this world, in what kind of situation, etc. Those are kind of way out from my dream also. I cannot dream like passing away like Bhishma Dev or someone like that, but capacity. So my thought process is just try to follow the instructions. As Srila Prabhupada mentioned, you follow my instruction, and disciples were telling, oh, it is little difficult, though he brought it down to maybe follow 90% of it, still difficult, try to follow at least 75%, then I can guarantee I will take you out of this. That is my hope. I will take you out of this, that I, Srila Prabhupada and his disciples, spiritual masters, they are giving us some hope, or actually they are giving us promise that they will take us out of this world if we follow their instructions. So that is my hope. I don't have anything more than that. I cannot do anything more than that except trying to follow their instructions. For even that itself is challenging many times. So my focus is just on that. Does that make sense, Prabhu?
Yes.
Are you asking something in
Yeah,
that line? Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. I just want
Hare
to
Krishna.
hear from you your reflections on that specific question. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Devotees are sharing, Prabhu, in the chat group about thanking you for your class.
Okay.
And
Thank you very much for being here. I don't know how much I was able to convey what I wanted to convey. Please forgive me. This is a tough topic for me also. But thank you for being here, inspiring me and blessing me so that I can understand these things more and apply in my life. So I think
Yes.
I will
Yes.
share them. Yeah. Thank you very much again. Shrivancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Thank you,
Jai
Prabhu.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Shrintai Sachinandan Dev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
You had a nice Nityananda Triyodashi
Krishna.
observance.
Yes, we had good fortune of His Holiness Indradyumna Swami 2 days, yesterday and today.
Oh, wow.
It was big surprise also. Very nice, very enlivening.
Where in India are you?
Bangalore. So he is visiting now. So
Nice. And today is Srila Narottam Das Thakur.
yes, yeah. So we had a
US.
he gave a very out of the world, I would say, lecture on Narottam. He's a very great fan of Narottam Das Thakur. He gave a highly blissful lecture about his pastime.
That's wonderful.
Very wonderful, very enlivening.
That's wonderful.
With a long kirtan. So,
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you very much. Take care, and our obeisances to Mataji and your daughter.
yes, Prabhu. Yeah. Thank you very much. Jai Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Jai.
His Grace Prema Vardhana Prabhu ki
Srila
jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Gaur Premanandi Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Bye-bye. To the rest of the devotees, please join for Sunday feast.